Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official college football Week 12 best bets, where the analytical values meet human nuance. We find, who do the analytics like? Who does the general public like? If they both like the same thing, that is a total value bet. And guys, there's only 12 this week because it is a massive weather situation and stuff like that. We're also going to be taking a look at the SP Plus in this video, and I think it is completely useless at this point, this late in the season, due to the weather. It has some crazy overall things. We're going to look and see if we can find any value in those. But just looking at the total value plays, it's UConn plus the 10 at Army. So, UConn's been a surprise this year. I would say, the 10 points, it is value considering Army has been so bad. I believe they only have 3 wins. They're 3-7. UConn is 6-5, but it is funny. I just looked this up. UConn, I believe, is 120th out of 131 teams in ESPN FPI, and they're 6-5. So that just goes to show you they've been winning a lot of close games, especially last week. A lot of luck involved. They were outgained significantly by Liberty, but they won that game. Overall, the general public and the models believe there is value in UConn. Number 2, Indiana at Michigan State, the over 47.5. So this one is pretty simple. 2 bad defenses coupled with an over-under below 50 gives you good value in the over. My one caveat in this game is the weather situation surrounding it. It's going to be in the 30s, maybe the 20s. You're going to get some flurries. But no, I will say there is value there on the over 47.5. Next, we have Louisiana at Florida State. Kind of a curious one, the under 52. It's funny, my first initial reaction to this line was take the over. Now, I did not include it in my best bets or anything, but it's funny how the general public and the advanced models actually like the under in this game. There is also a big Florida State tax going around right now with Vegas because Florida State's been so good over the past few weeks. The SP Plus thinks Louisiana covers this spread. It's a 24-point spread by 10 points. As for the over-under, I probably wouldn't bet it, but people say there's value on the under. UTSA Rice, the under 57.5. So, yeah, guys, I believe just yesterday the over-under in this game was 60, and it's gone down 2.5 points in the span of about 12 hours. So it seems like bettors have found the value in the under, and now, there's very little value left at 57.5. I would assume people are thinking that UTSA is going to hold Rice to a very low number, maybe 7 or 10 total points, which would require UTSA basically dropping a 50 burger for the over to hit in that one. Next, we have Ohio State at Maryland, the under 63.5. So I've been thinking about this bet more and more, and I love it, guys. Ohio State has no running backs. They're 27.5-point favorites. They're just going to want to get out of this game without any injuries. They're not going to be playing C.J. Stroud in the fourth quarter. C.J. Stroud will get his 4 touchdown passes, but they're going to be very cautious with this game. Maryland is a complete dead fish. They just want the season to be over. It's going to be 40 degrees. You could see a score where it's like 52-10 with the under hitting, but I don't think Ohio State's even going to score that much because of the running back situation, because of everything, all the factors with this game against Maryland. They're massive favorites. They're not going to want to risk anything with Michigan next week. They're going to want to get their guys as much rest as possible. So I do agree. I like the value there. UL Monroe at Troy, the over 47.5. I'm going to have to disagree with this one. I just think any game involving Troy, especially when they're at home, I would advise against taking the over. Troy has a below-average offense coupled with a really good defense, so I would say the value is in the under. But we also have to understand, I think people are taking, 47.5 is not a big number. They view UL Monroe as a really bad defense, so they think Troy can score a lot. Even if that is the case, I really don't see Troy allowing very many points to UL Monroe, so we will see who's right on that. Cincinnati at Temple, I do agree with this one. I like the value in the under 51. Guys, we have to remember, Temple's home stadium is the Philadelphia Eagles' home stadium. There's going to be a very low crowd, 90% of the stadium is going to be empty seats. That is not conducive to a higher scoring game. Temple, I know they've been scoring a little bit more the past 2 weeks. I do think that's an aberration. They're going to come back down to earth against a good defense. Cincinnati's on the road. It's not like Cincinnati has this explosive offense with elite receivers or anything like that. I'm really liking the idea of sniping the under in this game. I would want to check the temperature and see how cold or warm it is, but if it's in the 30s or 40s in Philadelphia, I would like the under. Western Kentucky at Auburn, the under 52.5. So this is an interesting battle. You know, you've got Army, an SEC team at home. They just played a 13-10 game against Texas A&M. Western Kentucky, more of the air raid, but they're on the road at an SEC team. This is the models and the general public simply believing that Auburn, the SEC team, the fact that they're at home, they're going to hold down Western Kentucky and their air raid offense. Personally, I would stay away from this game, but people do find value in the under. How about this zesty one? New Mexico State plus the 29 at Missouri. I love the under in this game due to the weather. It's going to be very cold in Missouri, and there's really no motivation for Missouri in this game. So I understand taking, for as bad as New Mexico State is, plus the 29, I can understand why people and why the models would value New Mexico State. I would say just play it safe. In case Missouri wins like 38-7, I'll just say take the over. Take the under. I believe the over-under in this game is in the mid-40s, but the weather, it's going to be very cold. Both of these teams are just going to want to get off the field, to be honest. Neither of them are playing for anything. Oklahoma State plus the 7.5 at Oklahoma. So we know Oklahoma State's had a few games where they've gotten absolutely trounced, but I do agree. I love the value of the plus 7.5. If Oklahoma State loses by a touchdown, you still cover, and Oklahoma has just been too inconsistent this year. This is a rivalry game. They're traditionally very close. You could be talking about a walk-off field goal or something like that. Plus 7.5 for two evenly matched teams seems like pretty good value to me. And then the final two, it's going to be, how about Colorado plus 30.5 at Washington? I would not bet that. I just think Colorado is so bad. I understand it's a huge number. Maybe people find value in Colorado. They've been able to throw the ball a little bit better. They did put up significant yardage on USC. They had like 370 total yards of offense, and Washington does have a bad defense, so maybe you can talk yourself into Colorado maybe getting into the 20s. I like the over in this game as long as the weather is good, because Colorado actually can throw the ball a little bit, coupled with Washington's bad defense and their air raid style on offense. I could see this game being like 55-20 or something like that. And then the final one, it is UNLV at Hawaii. We're sniping the under 55.5. So last week, Hawaii, who's a bad offense, had an uncharacteristically higher scoring game. UNLV, who's a bad offense, also had an uncharacteristically high scoring game. We expect, both of those offenses to return to the mean. That's why we're sniping the under 55.5 in this game. I really like that bet. This is a late night, 11 o'clock Eastern game, I believe, with the under, a very strong play. Now we're going to take a look at the SP Plus overall value bets. So guys, because of the weather, it's very hard to take a lot of these bets seriously or the values seriously, but we are going to look at this. This first one, for example, Tulsa and South Florida, they have the over hitting by like 12 points. This game is going to be played in 30-degree weather. I would not recommend taking the over. They like, They like Duke, and I agree with that. I like Duke plus the 7.5. They do as well. They like Michigan to cover, and they love the under. Wow. They have that game finishing 30-9. And guys, Chase Brown's status is interesting. That over-under has gotten bet down significantly. I think that over-under is down to 41 right now. Michigan State and Indiana, my goodness, do they love the over. Wow. Texas A&M and UMass, they like A&M to cover, and they like the under. I wouldn't put too much stock into that. How about UCF covering against Navy? Here is the one we were talking about. The Florida State, Louisiana, the FSU tax. They have Louisiana covering and only losing this game by 13 points, and they also do like the under which was one of my better bets. They love the over in the Wisconsin-Nebraska game. I would not advise betting that. The model does not have nuance to realize the Nebraska quarterback situation. The fact that this is an 11 a.m. Central game, I would not advise doing that. UTSA and Rice, they like UTSA to cover, but just barely, and they like the over in that game, the over 61. That's interesting because that thing's been bet down significantly. I wonder if there's an injury in that game. They like Kansas State to cover against West Virginia. Guys, I really like the under 54.5 in that because of the weather. They like Washington State covering at Arizona. They're not going to be prisoners of the moment and overreact to Arizona's shocking win against USC last week. They like Oregon State to cover at Arizona State. Yeah, that's a strong bet. I would agree with that. The Coastal Carolina-Virginia game, they like Coastal Carolina. So number one, the model cannot account for Grayson McCall being out for the year. And number two, this game's not even happening. That is what it is. They like Charlotte. I would not bet on Charlotte football games, guys. I would not do that. They like the under in Georgia, Kentucky. That's going to be a cold weather game. I mean, they've got it at 32-12. I could see that. I could see a lower scoring game. They like Maryland to cover against Ohio State, and they love the under. That's one of the better bets of the week, the under in that game. They like Troy to cover against UL Monroe. Troy 15.5-point favorites. Here, guys, I agree with this. The under in the Temple-Cincinnati game. Wow, that's gotten bet down like crazy. That has gotten bet. You know what I want to look for? Let me look for the Buffalo game. The Buffalo game is a 3:30 game. There it is right there. Guys, here it is. Buffalo-Akron. The over-under opened at 55. I think it's at 45 right now, or is it at 47? Guys, it's crazy. Get in on it. Get in on the under. There is a once-in-a-lifetime snowstorm. I would be very mad if they canceled this game. We want to see a 4-2 game with about 5 inches, or actually like about 12 inches on the field. These snow bands off the coast of Lake Erie. This is lake effect snow. Guys, I deal with this stuff, not as bad as Buffalo, but it is insanely unpredictable to where it just keeps coming. It's crazy. It is the snow that comes off the lake effect snow is ridiculous. So I would say get in on the under and then pray it doesn't get canceled. But guys, this Cincinnati Temple under, these games, the price action on these games are ridiculous. They've got Florida International covering versus UTEP. I like UTEP to cover, but again, Florida International's been inconsistent. Oh, they like Western Kentucky to win this game outright. Good for them. Good for them. I like that pick. Although I do like Auburn and their Cadillac Williams. He's brought some life to that program. Other games, they like South Carolina to cover against Tennessee. That's the Tennessee tax because Tennessee is obsessed with running up the score because they need to do it for style points. So there's a tax on Tennessee. They love the under in the Missouri, New Mexico. Yep, there it is, guys. These are unders that we can snipe. New Mexico State, Missouri under. Buffalo, Akron under. Cincinnati, Temple under. Now we're starting to see a theme that we like. And they like Air Force to annihilate 35-5. They've got Colorado State getting a safety. Congratulations to them. So guys, yeah, there's really not a lot of variance in these. How about, they like the over in this game? Wow, 36-32. So they do like Oklahoma State to cover. They like Oklahoma State to cover. They like Washington to cover. That's how bad 50-15. That's how bad Colorado is. But yeah, guys, those are just some interesting look-ahead numbers. Pretty crazy variance this week in some of these games. But I would say another under that's really good. Ohio State, Maryland, the under 63.5 would be a play. Even Georgia, Kentucky, that's a low number for a Georgia game because Georgia does score some. They have an efficient offense, but I would look at the weather in Lexington. I saw something about it being very cold in Lexington, so I don't know. So guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.